But more and more scientific evidence is coming out showing the harms of masking. And you may have seen a headline in the last couple of days talking about how the CDC has changed their uh, guidelines for the development of children's speech. They've lowered the bar. And so, one of my favorite people on Twitter, Karen Bates, and she's actually the woman who is responsible for getting me into activism, essentially. She, last winter, I reached out to her on Twitter and I said, I'm a teacher. What can I do? And she said, start a Twitter account. So, with a few other teachers, I started Teachers for Open Schools, and, everything kind of just went on from there. But Karen writes amazing threads, and she is a reading specialist. So this is kind of similar to her field. She's not exactly an expert, but she wrote a really good thread unpacking the changes to the CDC. This isn't the whole thing, so I encourage you to go check it out, but here's some highlights. So she talks about how the American Speech and Language Hearing Association says that fewer than 50 words when a child is 2 years old is a sign of a language problem. But if you look at the CDC's guidance, so in their old guidance, it said that, by the age 2, kids should be able to point to things or pictures when they're named. They know the names of familiar people and body parts. They can say sentences with 2 to 4 words. They can follow simple instructions. They can repeat words that are overheard in a conversation, and they can point to things in a book. So this is this is the old guidance, what kids should be able to do at the age of 2. Now, the new guidance, they've lowered the bar, and they say, point to things in a book when you ask, like, where is the bear? Say at least 2 words together. More milk, right? So it used to be can say 2 to 4 words. Now it's only 2 words. Points to at least 2 body parts when you ask him to show you, right? So I guess they can only name 2 body parts instead of all of the body parts. I don't know. The wording even there is weird. Uses more gestures than just waving and pointing, like blowing a kiss or nodding, right? So it's more gestures, right? There's nothing about repeating words. There's nothing about following. I guess that's kind of like following instructions is the gestures, but it's very limited. So you can see the wording is a little bit awkward, and they're really watering down the standards here. Another change is they introduced a 30-month milestone, which they didn't previously have, and it said that they should expect to have 50 words spoken. So at 30 months, 24 would be 2 years, so they're a little bit over 2 years old. And they say, oh yeah, 50 words is good. But if you remember from that first slide I showed you, 50 words for them was a red flag. So again, lowering the bar here. And then just the point why 2 years old is the age that we want to look at is because it's such a pivotal year in language development. If you have a younger kid, if you have had a kid, or you have, a younger niece or nephew or something, you're aware of this. Like 2 where they go from kind of like being like kind of like a helpless baby to like really turning into a real person and talking and articulating what's going on in the world around them. And so, they make these huge strides. And so, usually you would get early intervention services, like for speech. You notice it around here, and you want to get that intervention going right away. So it's pretty worrying that the CDC has lowered the standards because, again, if you're behind at this very pivotal time when your brain is really soaking things up, you're not going to have that opportunity again. Your brain isn't that, like a sponge as it is at that age. And then the other thing that she noticed is that the CDC just like they aren't as urgent in getting you help. So they take a very conservative stance on things like sunny side up eggs and cookie dough, but they don't show that same sort of caution to like, uh-oh, your kid is having speech delays. It's no big deal to them. It'll catch up. 50 words, that's good. So, who knows again what's driving these changes? I don't know. It's hard to say, it's hard to attribute motivation. I really think most people are just useful idiots. They think that this is a good thing, or, maybe they're just given a task and they don't really understand the historical context of the changes and whatever. Again, political expedience, money,